What kept me coming back to Forza Horizon 6 wasn't just the cars, it was Japan.
Ready. Set up.
I've never been to Japan, but it's one of those places I've always been fascinated by. Between the anime I grew up watching, the games, the music, and somehow ended up rewatching Tokyo Drift enough times that I can tell you all of the lines by heart, Japan always felt like one of those places I've always wanted to experience for myself. And the deeper I went down to the rabbit hole, the more I kept coming back for the car culture. You see these people spending years building a car, driving across the city just to meet up with other enthusiasts and treat a random parking area like it's a weekend event. There's just a level of passion there that feels different. So when Playground Games finally brought Horizon to Japan after years of fans asking for it, I was curious to see if they could actually capture that same exact feeling. And after spending hours racing, exploring, drifting, and just getting distracted by just about every corner on the map, I honestly do not think they could have picked a better location. So let's go ahead and talk Forza Horizon 6.
この番組は、フォルツァ、ホライゾン6の提供でお送りします。
The first impression of this game is beautiful. Driving around and discovering different parts of Japan immediately made me realize that I was in for a treat. And there's no way to open up a Horizon game that by showing off the setting like this. The world itself is packed with a lot of things to do. You got the festival races, street races, drift zones, speed traps, danger signs, and enough activities scattered across the map to keep you busy for hours. But what really makes all of it work is the place that you're doing it at. One minute you're driving through Tokyo checking out places like the Tokyo Tower, the Shibuya Crossing, or even the Daikoku parking area, which feels like a love letter to Japanese car culture in so many ways. Then a few minutes later, you're out exploring places like the Kinkaku-ji, and I don't know how many people are going to stop in the middle of a race to look at a temple, but apparently I'm one of them because the second I found it, I completely forgot where I was supposed to be going. And of course, there's Mount Haruna. The second I saw it on the map, I knew exactly where I was going first. And if you ever watch Initial D, you probably understand why. But not every landmark is drivable though. Mount Fuji looks incredible in the background whether you're racing or just simply driving around the map. But you cannot actually drive on it, which is a little disappointing, but I get it. And one thing I haven't talked about yet, it's the seasons. Just like previous Horizon games, the world changes every week, giving you a different version of Japan depending on when you log in. You get snowy roads during the winter, colorful leaves during the fall, and rainy roads mixed with sakura trees during the spring. And while every season changes the look of the map, spring was easily my favorite. Maybe it's the sakura trees, maybe it's because I'm a sucker for scenery like this, but I never got tired of driving through the sakura-filled roads. Well, time to get the photo mode out. But none of that will matter if the driving wasn't fun, and thankfully Playground Games still understands that mix between arcade and simulation racing that's easy to pick up and play, which is one of the reasons why I've always preferred the Horizon series over the original Forza games. Some of the cars feel amazing to drive while others like the Formula cars feel like you're finding the controls half of the time. Believe it or not, it's actually by design. And those cars became some of my favorites for drifting challenges in the game. Every car feels a little bit different, and depending on when you're driving, it can completely change the experience. When I was driving around Mount Hanura, I found myself slowing down and paying a lot more attention on the curbs so I wouldn't go flying down the mountain. Then I would head back to Tokyo and see how fast I could drive before flying across the road and just slamming into a wall. The races themselves do a great job of keeping things fresh. One minute you're racing through the city, then you're flying through the countryside before eventually making your way into the snowy mountains of Sotoyama. It never felt like I was driving on the same roads over and over. And of course, Horizon will not be Horizon without the showcase events.
This is not a drill. We got the call to the Horizon Invitational. So get that route set, and I'll see you there.
These are basically the moments where Forza stops caring about realism and just wants to have fun. One of my favorites was the Gundam-inspired showcase when you race against a giant robot named Chaser Zero. The second I saw that happening, I could not stop smiling because it was exactly the kind of ridiculous thing I wanted to see from a Horizon game set in Japan. But not every showcase was a winner though. One of them has you racing alongside a rocket launch, which sounds awesome on paper but ended up being one of my least favorite events in the game. The track is packed with tight turns and narrow sections, so you're never really allowed to open up and enjoy the speed of the game. And after all the build up, you barely even get to see the rocket launch. Considering how much the game hyped the moment up, it felt like a huge missed opportunity. I've seen a lot of players point out that one of the biggest strengths of the game is how different every road feels to drive on. And after spending hours with it myself, I actually have to agree. What I like the most though is how the game gives you the freedom to play however you want instead of forcing you down a specific path. You want to tune your car down to the smallest detail possible? Go for it. You want to spend hours driving through Sakura Field roads while listening to music? Knock yourself out. Personally, I probably spend more time doing the second one because as much as I love the driving, I was not expecting for them to go this hard on the soundtrack. And considering how much time I spent listening to Japanese music over the years, it feels like this soundtrack was made for me. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not all just Japanese music. You'll find artists like Linkin Park, Lil Nas X, Calvin Harris, and Ben of Horses to name a few. So there's a little bit of everything depending on what you're in the mood for. But for me, the Japanese stations were the real stars of the show. I don't think I switched away from Gacha City Radio for most of my playthrough because the station is packed with bangers. You got the new Genesis from the One Piece movie Red, Creepy Nuts, Baby Metal, Idol by the Queen of J-Pop YOASOBI, and even Tai Dada by Sutomayo. You know this one, right? The first ending of Dan Da Dan. This soundtrack complements the game so well that I barely used the fast travel system. I just drove through the races because the music never got boring for me. And by the time I finished the game, I had already added a few of these songs to my playlist. And I don't think I've ever complemented a racing game soundtrack like this before. And of course, this will not be a Forza game without a ridiculous amount of cars you can choose from. And thankfully, they do keep that tradition intact. Whether you're into off-road monsters, formula cars, classic cars, or Lamborghinis if you just want to go ridiculously fast, there's something here for everybody. The customization options are just as impressive. You got performance upgrades, tuning options, custom paint jobs, and community designs that you can download the second you buy a car. I'm not exactly the most creative person out there when it comes to designing cars, so I spend a lot of time browsing through what the community came up with. I found everything from Monster Energy drinks to anime tributes like this Uraviti design from Boku no Hero Academia. And some of these were so well made that it looked like it came with the game. But the car I kept coming back to was the Nissan GTR. This car has been one of those dream cars for me for years. And the second I got my hands on one, I knew it was probably going to become my main car for most of the game, and sure enough, it did. I used it to explore the map, drive through Tokyo, cruise past the sakura trees, and discover just about every corner of Japan the game had to offer. And I have faster cars sitting in my garage, but somehow I always ended up going back to the GTR. Maybe it's because I wanted one for years, or maybe it's because it's one of the most iconic Japanese cars ever made. Well, whatever the reason, every time I got behind the wheel of it, I had a hard time picking something else. And driving one through Japan made it even harder. And I might never own a GTR in real life, but for a few hours, Forza Horizon 6 gave me the next best thing. Now, I know I've been praising this game like it's the greatest thing ever made, but is the game perfect? Not even close. And I have 3 words to explain why. The gold wristband.
How does that feel? Gold suits you.
Okay, let me explain. Throughout the game, you'll unlock different wristbands as you complete races, activities, and showcase events. Every wristband before this felt natural to earn, and I will do some races, complete activities around the map, and before I knew it, I unlocked the next one. Then I got to the gold wristband, and it felt like the game slammed on the brakes. By this point, I already completed most of the races and activities that naturally reward the Horizon points. So instead of doing whatever I felt like doing, I started chasing whatever points I could find. I was replaying races, going back to old challenges, taking pictures of cars, doing drag races, jumping into online events, just basically doing anything that would make that bar move forward just a little bit. And the worst part, that bar moved so slowly, I promise that thing was stuck needing the same 3,000 Horizon points for hours. The drag races did help a lot, and judging by how many people I saw doing the same exact thing, I clearly was not the only one stuck in the grind. But besides that, you get the XP boards. The XP boards are another great way of earning points, but good luck finding all of them naturally. The only way you can get them is by pulling up an interactive map online made by other players, or give me money. You guys want $3 to reveal where every sign and mascot is on the map? Come on, man. This is something Horizon has carried over from previous games, and I really wish they stopped doing it. Just give me a way to unlock those maps naturally instead of just asking me to throw money at the screen every time. By the time I filled up the bar, I was ready to move on, which is a shame because the reward is actually pretty cool. Once you unlock the Legend Island, you get access to some of the biggest endgame events in the game, including the Goliath, which is basically like a 30-minute race across the entire map. The problem is that getting there felt more exhausting than exciting. I don't remember endgame progression being this frustrating in previous Horizon games, and by the time I finally earned that gold wristband, I was just happy it was over. But I did have a lot of fun with the game, and it took me to Japan even though I'd never been there before. Maybe one day that will change, but until then, Forza Horizon 6 gave me the closest thing I've had to exploring it for myself. Between the driving, the landmarks, and the music, I got distracted on this map for hours. And even after all of the frustration with the gold wristband, I can still see myself coming back to this game in the future, especially during the spring season. If you get a chance to experience this game for yourself, I will definitely give it a go. And if you love Japan as much as I do, this one is a must play. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time to get back in my GTR and drift around Tokyo again. Get it? Of course you do. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. Have a fantastic night, and I'll see you on the next one.